Morning. It's Friday, October 24th. We're coming into, God, we're getting close to the holiday season, right? Already seeing holiday ads on television. We've got the weekend ahead. Weather's looking a little bit in and out. North of the Bay Area, it's going to be a little bit wet. There might be a few scattered showers into the Bay Area as well. Southern California, you stay dry and pleasant. A few clouds, a little cooler. The mountains, there right now, there's a wind advisory up around the lake area, Lake Tahoe. There is a surf watch along the coast for sneaker waves, but it's big. I mean, it's like 10 foot. Dense fog advisories in parts of the Central Valley. And then we'll look at the models. And what we'll do, the same thing we always do. We'll talk about some stuff and get to the models about 6-7 minutes in. But if you can scrub ahead and just get to that stuff. So, by scrub ahead, just run that line, you get right to the models. Because the models are sort of interesting right now. We're seeing they're going back and forth on the intensity of the rain, especially north of, say, Santa Rosa. So there's the low. You can see it right here. And it's really impressive looking, right? Like I look at that and I go, whoo, that's some stuff, right? First of all, you got a low here, right? The main low, the parent low. Then you've got this secondary low that's like vorticity maximum. That's what that is. And there's a bunch of them in here. When in this parent low, I can pick out a few areas, these counterclockwise swirls representing a spin in the atmosphere. And a counterclockwise spin is typically associated with instability. So this little bad boy here, when that comes on shore, that's developing quickly. And you have to realize, like, this is a frontal system. And you see how the clouds are relatively uniform. And the frontal system drags along the ground and the air rises and you get clouds along that frontal band. The frontal band divides cold air from warm air. The cold air being back here, warm air being up front. Makes sense. So today's going to be a really nice day. Temperature today in Redding is going to go 70 degrees, cooler than yesterday. And then cooler further tomorrow. But today's going to be kind of a nice mild day. But this cold air coming in here, when you see something like that developing in the cold air sector, you're basically looking at some incredibly strong instability. Like this is producing probably or potentially thunderstorms out over the Pacific. That's no topography to bump it up and create more instability. That's not a lot of warmth because the ocean is, that far north, the ocean is probably 53 degrees surface temperature. So this thing has enough spin, vorticity, counterclockwise vorticity to create potentially thunderstorms on its own without a bunch of pop. So I'm just pointing that out. That's an interesting feature. And then you got some subtropical moisture down here, and that's got some good spin there. This was our system from a couple days ago, moving on out. This is a shot I think I love. This is Mount Shasta. We'll look at it early. This is this morning. Right? Oh my God. A little bit of fog, a little bit of cloud. Mount Shasta, for my money, prettiest mountain in the world. Right? I mean, they're all beautiful. What am I saying? But just the way it sits in that valley. And Mount Shasta is awesome because you think about Whitney. Whitney is taller, for sure. But it hangs around a bunch of other 14,000 foot peaks. Mount Shasta's over 14,000, and that bad boy just sits out there in this plain, this relatively flat plain, not elevated. So it's such a stark boom, right? And I guess Rainier kind of, no, not really. No, I think that's why it's so special. Okay, and then this is the most recent visible satellite. That first satellite I showed you was infrared. This satellite is visible, like a camera being taken. Can't see that vorticity maximum back here, but you do see some strength here. This is the back edge of the front, or probably right about where the front is. And then this is the cloud being scooped ahead, but you see there's some dynamics here. You just look at the cloud. You go, well, what are you looking at? Well, I'm looking at this right here. It's kind of broken up. And this is a full, look at that thing bumping up into the upper atmosphere, upper troposphere. You can see the flatness on top of them. The texture, just really thick, robust cloud cover. So that's some rain. That's some tropical moisture with a cold air push. Here is fog down in Monterey Bay. Fog down in the Salinas Valley all the way south towards Paso Robles. No fog down. We had fog yesterday. I had dense fog advisory yesterday and down by Visalia and Fresno. Not today. and then just some high clouds. So today's going to look like this for most of us. In Southern California, you've got coastal fog. We'll see that down in San Diego. I've got a live camera of that. And it's going to be a nice day overall. San Diego today will go about 68 degrees. There's the dense fog advisories. And that weird teal is the sneaker wave thing. I know. It's funny. Once I brought up the sneaker thing, I was reading it somewhere else. I guess one of the Chronicle or somebody, sneaker waves. It's like, yeah, okay. I guess I lose. I just don't like that term. But it probably works pretty well. Okay, so dense fog advisory. Look at Marin County. That's how that gets up there. So that's dense fog, and then you got your dense fog here. This is all going to burn off. There is a dense fog. Well, pardon me, I was incorrect. It's weird. Why would we have? It must have burned off. They're going to drop it then. So that's where there's a dense fog advisory now down towards Fresno. So pardon me, I was incorrect. The Weather Service did have something up, and I'm sure it was there. It must have burned off. This is an interesting shot. This is Mount Tam. You got two kinds of fogs going, right? You got the coastal fog, and you've got the advection fog. And look at the cloud decks. One's going one way. The one going out to the right of the screen, that's advection fog. Now it's all coming in. And then you see the shear? Some it's going out, some it's coming in, man. That's awesome. So that's what happens when advection fog meets coastal fog, and we've talked about that's that Marin County. So the Mount Tam is in Marin County. This fog can be the most dangerous fog, right? The advection fog we're used to, but when the radiation fog, Tule fog, Valley fog, gets out into it, it creates a really dense, poor visibility. I'm actually surprised there's not a dense fog advisory along the coast. No, they didn't issue one. Okay, well, they must not need. But anyway, that's another example of the fog. I messed this shot up yesterday. This is Mount Lincoln. Thank you, sir, for jumping in on that. I was saying it was Palisades. This is at Sugar Bowl. Looking down, there's Donner Lake here. And then this is the old Highway 40 over here, I believe. And then this is out in the Truckee Valley. And they have fog. This is as of 9:43 this morning, but it's burning out quickly. These high clouds representing that next system. So we can go down into the fog and I checked this earlier. It was foggy at the airport. That cleared out quick. Wow. Remember the fog they had yesterday? So Truckee Airport, it's a big airport, right? It's surprising how I remember when just little guys fly in there, but then, is there any fog there? No. Yeah, that burned off pretty quick. Well, that's kind of cool. And then along the coast, we've got the waves. It's big. Like it's Ocean Beach. I don't know if anybody's out. Great Highway closed, and that's why you see people running on it. Ocean Beach big. They're calling it like 6 to 8 feet. I think it might even be a little bit bigger, but the swell's big. It's going to stay big for a while, and we'll see that coming up. Okay, this is the forecast, or these are the overnight low temperatures, I believe they are. Yeah, minimum temperatures. And so you can see the dense fog advisory that was in effect. Maybe it still is. I think it is in effect, but it's getting dropped. And then you see, let me see if I can move these in and out. I don't like that map at all. Oh well, so we did it. Let's topographic. Let's go oceans. All right, that's better. Truckee, where are we? I think I saw 25 this morning. Yeah, there's Lake Tahoe, 27, 25 kind of in the lower lands. And then around the lake, temperatures today, God, that's hard. That's tough to go 48 to 50, 43. So these are the overnight lows. So it's kind of a wide ranging. Here is your surf along the coast. These are the overnight lows for San Francisco Bay Area, Marin County, because of that fog. Look how much cooler it is up in that fog zone. 45 up in Petaluma, 46 at Santa Rosa. And then we'll go back out a little bit. And we'll go north. And I'll let you see that. This area out here, I didn't talk about this much, but this is a wind advisory for not today, but for tomorrow, for about 12 hours of the day tomorrow. And that would make sense based on that front we saw coming in. They got a wind advisory up here too. And then that's a gale warning offshore, way offshore. And then we'll come down to our friends. So Santa Barbara has a dense fog advisory as well. I didn't see it. Isn't that funny? I didn't really see it in Santa Barbara either. That's kind of why I like to do this sometimes. Well, let's see. Yeah, maybe that might constitute. Okay. That's why I like to do live cameras, because it is nice to be able to validate with a real, like, this is what's happening, right? Okay, and then Southern California. Hope you're having a good day. Got a weekend planned. The weekend looks pretty good. Southern California, you're going to be awesome. These are the forecast highs for today. Today being Friday, and then I'll do tomorrow too. So that's not bad. That's a sick temperature footprint for sure for California and those western states. 70 in Tonopah, or 68 in Tonopah, 83 out towards Daggett. I like that. The desert is like, that's why people live in Palm Springs this time of year, right? 90, pleasant, dry. Here's tomorrow. That's after that system comes in, and you can see it has a, what's that back? 70 in Redding today, 63 tomorrow. So 5-6 degree drop in temperatures. And you can see here, that's about the line of cooling. In other words, everything down here is going to stay about the same. So the impact of that system that we're watching come in is going to have its main impact north of this red line. And its main impact will really be north of San Francisco. Now we get to the models. And this is where you've scrubbed. If you're just joining us after scrubbing through, this is the GFS. This is, I believe, I took this as the 12Z, which is, like 5 in the morning. 5 in the morning is when the sounding was taken. This is the trough that we saw in the satellite, right? And I can see why people were fired up about this last week, because it does have a zonal kind of a flow to it. It appears to want to have that. Here comes the system. This is tonight, this afternoon. So you see it moving in. So today's nice. Today's a nice day. Today's a nice day for everybody, except maybe Crescent City, maybe Shelter Cove, you guys, maybe. But pretty much pretty nice. And then overnight, that thing moves in. There's your wind advisory, because the isobars, how close together they are. And you see dynamics. The reds and yellows, by the way, are vorticity. Remember that vorticity maximum I talked about? I wonder if this picks it up. Yeah, I think it does. I think that is that vorticity maximum that we were looking at on the satellite. So it picks it up, starts to rotate. This is Saturday morning, right? So dynamics. We're just looking at upper air dynamics. This is way up there, but it equates to what happens at the surface. But what I see here is, see the straight line? Is that flow? I'll do it here. I hope I'm not. You probably already get this, but see how it's a straight line? Talked about it yesterday. That's where the jet gets cooking. When it bends up like this, it starts to slow down. A little bit. Not when the isobars spread apart, it actually, you get a diffluence. But in this case, as it's full speed, the jet stream is going as fast as it can go, and then as it turns, the momentum, the angular momentum, slows it down a little bit, and it actually creates more lift, but it slows down the jet stream, which is, in this case, has the potential to carry a lot of moisture right to the source of the lift. So that's why people were excited about this. That's super zonal looking. See it? Usually it undulates. That's what the jet stream does. That's what it looks like. When you get a line like that coming in against mountains and topography, we know what's going to happen in California. That's why they refer to them as, atmospheric rivers, tropical express, pineapple express, rain. It's all the same thing. But in this case, that has that signature, but then it starts to undulate. This ridge starts to pop up. Okay, so this is Sunday morning. So Saturday night, Sunday morning, and then a ridge into Monday. So that's pretty pleasant. And then another trough comes in. That looks like maybe something, right? But minimal. Okay. And then another big ridge, just a huge ridge for this time of year. Look at that thing. Look at that. Holy smokes. That's November 4th. Let's see how far I can go. Okay, so we're getting out into fantasy land. Okay, so we kind of know what we're looking for. We're looking for Friday night into Saturday, a little bit into Sunday. So here's the GFS. Saturday or Friday afternoon. And you can see a little bit of the isobars. You can see some potential for wind. And then there's that rain, right? All right, now that's Saturday 18Z, that's Saturday, 11 in the morning, noontime, Saturday. A lot going on up north. A lot more going on up north. Sunday, 15Z, which is 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. Right? Okay, so, and then here we are into Monday, Tuesday. That's that short ridge pop up. And then there's some isobars. That's high pressure. That'd be an offshore wind, essentially. See the way these kind of curve in. So that's going to be a wind down the valley, or would be a wind down the valley. That's on Wednesday afternoon. And then here comes the next system, which is Saturday. Okay, so that's the GFS. This is the same run period, 12Z North America model, just showing no wind, it shows arrows for wind, but it doesn't use isobars or thicknesses. And here comes some more granular. Here comes Friday afternoon, Saturday morning. Okay. So that's, you see the line. That's Saturday, 11 a.m., Saturday afternoon. And then Saturday afternoon, Saturday night. I know. And I'm probably going too slow through this, but and then this one's interesting. This is an accumulation. This is the GFS accumulation. And remember, this is just like builds on itself. So we can go, okay, we can just look at the footprint and go, oh, this is who's getting wet over the next 4 days. So this is Saturday morning. You wake up tomorrow morning. This should be, so that's ½ inch of rain up in Cape Mendocino. Lots, look at up in Oregon, that 2.54, 2.5 inches of rain. That's the atmospheric river, right? That's where this thing had this shifted south, right? The fire hose, and was, down at our latitude, we'd be getting a lot of rain. We being Central California and Southern California. But it's too early in the season for the jet stream to be this far south. This is Sunday morning, Monday morning. And then see that reinforcement rain. So by Monday morning, this is the footprint. So your weekend, right? If you're in Sacramento, Granite Bay, it's like, I'm still going to do it. I'd still play golf. Sacramento. Now north up into Red Bluff and Redding, I don't think I would. And then this is into the following Saturday, November 1st. Look at that rain up, 6 inch, a ½ foot of rain. So it really continues that footprint, that pattern of heavy rain moving into the Pacific Northwest. Interesting. And then we get a wave. Then it looks like the model goes something on November 8th. That's Friday afternoon, November 8th. Look at that. That would be big too. So, we're clearly in fantasy land. Okay, so I went through that kind of slow, but it's the weekend and everything, and I just wanted you guys to see what I'm looking at. So how do I approach my weekend here in the Bay Area? I'm just going at it. I don't care. It's going to be fine. If I'm north of here, if I'm in Santa Rosa, I'm like, take an umbrella, be ready for a few raindrops, but still riding the bike. If I'm further north, up towards Mendocino County, Point Arena, those areas, I'm like, it's going to be rainy. It's going to be on and off rainy. If I'm further south, down in Fresno, even Santa Cruz, Big Sur, Los Angeles, just go about your day, man. Go about your weekend, because this thing has the energy, but it's all north. And that's what happens this time of year. The jet stream has a tendency, it's coming south as the days get shorter. Because here's the jet stream, right? Cold air, warm air. That's all the jet stream is. It divides upper levels. It divides the cold air from the warm air. Cold air is here, or cold air is here, warm air is here, right? So when it dips down, it drags cooler air further south. Well, as the days get shorter and things start to cool down, the jet stream, the mean position of the jet stream, is no longer at this latitude. It's at this latitude, and these bad boys start hitting us. All stuff you knew, but always nice to be reminded. These are the wind advisories for the next 24 hours or so, which makes sense. Winter weather advisories in the Cascades, they're going to get smacked up there. That's probably going to be the headline from this over the next week, is how much rain and snow they get up in Washington and Oregon. Flood advisories out in Oklahoma and Texas. Air quality stuff here. Pretty quiet overall. Let's see what's going on. Oh, that's Alaska. That's Hawaiian Islands. Let's see what they got going down there. Let's see. Oahu. Red flag warning. That sucks. Dry and windy conditions will persist. Let's see what the wind gusts are. Red flag warning Saturday afternoon for mainly dry areas due to windy conditions and low humidity. So they're getting their kind of wind event, and they're awfully sensitive to it after, the Maui thing. I'm just looking for what the wind speeds are going to be. I didn't know this was 40, 50%, 30 mile an hour gusts, 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts. So that's the Hawaiian Islands, and it's the go backwards. It looks like it's the south. Well, it looks like all the islands. It looks like the east side of the islands are faring better, but gusts 30 to 40 miles an hour. Okay, yeah. And it's funny, we've learned that as you look at the temperatures. I was talking to some folks when I was down on the coast this week, and all smart people, and we were talking about it. I was just saying, fire it's not like it used to be. Like in Hawaii, you'd get fires, but like the Lahaina thing was like beyond the Coffee Park thing in Santa Rosa, the Paradise thing, Palisades thing, right? This is a whole different level of thing. There's a lot going on here. You can point to climate, you can point to the way we build and where we build, you can kind of point to the materials that get used, things like this. But the reality of it is that there are scenarios that that urban areas are no longer really safe anymore, right? Because once you get a big enough wind blowing down Santa Monica Boulevard, and you get enough structures getting caught up. Like I talked to a guy who was down at the Palisades fire, and I was in the Paradise fire, which was much different. Palisades was like an urban wildfire, right? He was like, "There's nothing." People, there was no water, there were no firemen, they weren't there. It's like there's nothing, nobody's stopping that fire, and that's what he said. And I agree. I think it's just the way things have gone, and so nobody's safe from wildfire. So I guess I'm hearkening back to the Maui thing and the Hawaii red flag warning. Everybody's now more aware of what can happen, which is the first step in getting our stuff right. Okay, this is Owens Rally. I brought this up yesterday. This is known as the Great Water Heist. That was a big lake, Owens Lake. Got a nice letter from someone who said, "Hey, don't forget Otis and Chandler, the people who own the LA Times, because it was they were the ones who drove it." And it is true. LA was secretly buying. I just wrote up some facts. They secretly bought up the land, right, all around, and water rights around Owens Valley. And they didn't tell anybody what they were doing. And they didn't tell anybody they were trying to develop Los Angeles. They were just like, "Oh, I'm so-and-so, and I'm opening a cattle ranch." And so they started buying up these farms. And they got all the water rights in the area, or most of them. The aqueduct was finished in 1913. It went 233 miles. They took water, specifically Eaton and Mulholland, engineered water from here, 233 miles south. Owens Lake vanished within a couple years. It was originally a 100 square mile lake. 100 square mile lake vanished. And then it completely went dry in 1926. And the thing that I thought was interesting when I was looking at stuff this morning is like, it's literally still, the water rights are generally controlled still by Los Angeles, even though it's all dried out. They're still sucking the groundwater because there's a groundwater spring up there. So water rights in California, fascinating. And this is the textbook case of it. So I appreciate you chiming in the other day about the Otis and Chandler, because it was a big business. I mean, California, man, I love it here. But there were a lot of, from the railroad, how the railroads got built to how the water got moved around. California, the most manipulated, listen to this, most manipulated, changed, modified landscape anywhere in the world. Water, trees, mining, right? Just and there's nowhere in the world, at least as of last check, and it's California. This is Halama, dense fog off the coast, dense fog to the south. This is Point Conception, tip of Point Conception, sacred ground for the Chumash Indians. They used to live out there. This is Lake Tahoe. This is Bliss Park. Temperature today in Truckee is going to go 62 degrees. South Lake Tahoe, 62 degrees. Earthquakes over 5. Pretty quiet today. This is a big one. This was in the last hour. This is 5.8 in Japan. Pretty deep. 5.8. Wow. That's a big one. So, but this is in California. We've had a couple small ones. Specifically, where's this one? Lafayette, California, 4 miles. I didn't even feel it. I'm kind of in that Berkeley area. All right. Well. All right. Not too bad. Not a lot of earthquakes. Surf's coming up. It's going to stay up. This is the run. You can see the northern hemisphere is waking up, and then there's some. Somebody asked me the other day, when's Maverick's going to go? Usually, this is on the Halloween, but it's further north. Usually around Thanksgiving is when we used to call that opening day for surf. For big surf, and it's the weirdest thing is it really, like Thanksgiving, for whatever reason it goes like we'll be surfing our brains out at Ocean Beach, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 4 to 8, kind of fun size surf. Thanksgiving hit, and you guys know, right? You chime in on this, man. Every Thanksgiving it's not every. As soon as I say it, it won't ever happen again. But it always. That's when you go, oh, that's when the sometimes when the waves get big at Ocean Beach and at Mavericks, the waves that break on or come from the Pacific plate break on the North American plate, right? Because the two plates meet, shakes the plate and registers on the UC Berkeley seismograph. Yes, I've actually seen that when it gets really big. It makes sense. I mean, because seismographs measures everything. It's big at Santa Cruz Middle Peak. And you can see that right there, but the tide's beefy high. That's one of the reasons I'm not down with Bill today surfing, because it's really high in the morning. Say, when water gets high, look, that's a beautiful wave, but like catching it, like see how far you have to get inside? Well, that's cool. He did grab that. And it's really slow. Well, that's awesome, though. Okay, so that's that. Here is Zuma Beach. Beach party. Woo! Awesome. Running out of time. Here is UC San Diego. Fog just cleared San Diego today, 68 degrees. Here is Mount Shasta. That's a current shot. A little bit of snow on top. We're going to see a bunch more snow. That thing's going to be pistol white as we get into the next week. And then Whitney. Remember what I said about Whitney? Here's Whitney. But all the mountains around it are 14,000 feet, so it doesn't stand out as abruptly. And I'm running out of time. This is Palisades. Beautiful. I love this camera. Right, look at that. And that's Lake Tahoe over there. And then Mount Rose, Slide Mountain up here. And then Monterey Bay Aquarium, some sea otters. Went too long, so I don't have time to. There's sea otters right there. They're on there on the back. They're eating stuff, doing cool stuff. And then Venice Beach, California, just because it is. We have yet to pull this camera up and not see somebody running, right? It's because there's 2 people running. It's like a runny thing. All right, I'll see you back here tomorrow.